Let's talk a little bit about the Jets. Offensive line grades through Week 16. This is from Pro Football Focus. Mekhi Becton, 56.6. Their guard, Tomlinson, 54.3. Tipman, center, 59.3. Hanson and Warren on their right side of their line, both under 50. And Trevor Siemian, who will be playing quarterback, 149 snaps, 28.9. In short, offensive line has struggled. The quarterback has struggled. Siemian has struggled as well.
Yeah, they've had like 12 different offensive line combinations. Becton has played right and left tackle. He's been hurt. He's a top 15 pick, I think. The same year as Jed Wills, 2020, but he's been hurt. He's finally playing a lot this year, but he struggles or has struggled. There's some upside there. Certainly, he's a giant human being. But it feels like they're vulnerable. And the Browns' front four has been really good. The pass rush has been good. They got to Case Keenum a bunch last week and affected the game. And, it's been 5 straight games without a sack for Myles Garrett. And I'd be stunned if on national TV, prime time, against a suspect offensive line with, I assume the Browns will have a lead at some point, if he doesn't get after Trevor Siemian and break that sackless streak and do it with, flying colors. Get a couple, whether it's 2, 2.5, 3. I could see a big game for Myles Garrett.
So one of the concerns, Breece Hall, their running back, young guy, really good, 95 rushing yards, 96 receiving yards. That's last week, Week 16, 2 touchdowns. So that's a guy that, you got to know where he's at because he has the ability to kind of ruin a game for a defense when he touches the football.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 big-time playmakers, right? Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. And Hall had a huge game last week. Like he showed that, dual threat, obviously, rushing and receiving. He's a guy that Browns are going to have to shut down. Like, to me, those are the 2 guys. If you take care of Wilson and Hall, you're going to limit the Jets and limit them to next to nothing, right? The Browns are really good on third down. The Jets are bad on third down. Like, there's a chance for the Browns to put up one of those dominant defensive efforts where the other team barely moves the ball. But to do that, you have to be careful with Hall. And you can't let him get started. Can't let him get out in space. The screen passes, which I'm sure they'll run to try to neutralize the pass rush like the Texans tried to do early on Sunday. I would expect the Jets to do the same thing. And you just have to be aware of that and not let him get off for one of those long ones. Because if they make a couple big plays and hang around, like that's the recipe, for the Jets to make this thing closer than it should be.
All right, before I let you go, this is another thing to keep an eye on. Since Week 1, Sauce Gardner has allowed 18 catches for 150 yards and no touchdowns. So that averages out to 1.5 catches and 12.5 yards per game. He's a really talented guy. Probably right now, he's probably the best cornerback in the league.
Yeah, he's really good and he's young, right? It'll be interesting to see how they use him. I know Robert Saleh talked about, hey, we'll let him follow some guys sometimes, even though they're more of a right-left system. Does he try to just take away Amari Cooper? And then the Browns have to look somewhere else. I'm sure that's what the Browns coaches are worried about, or at least have a contingency plan for that. Okay, if he's one-on-one with Cooper, do we go somewhere else and try to Elijah Moore needs a big game, or go to David Njoku a bunch, or whatever else that is, Said Tillman, or do they say, hey, let's go see how our best guy does against their best guy and let Joe Flacco try to fit it in there. It's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. I don't know how, if we'll see it a bunch, if we'll see it only, some snaps, but certainly Gardner's a guy, and it's not just he's good coverage. He's a playmaker, gets his hands on balls. He's been really impressive.